human beings from the same gene pool can
Absolutely.
be so different, just their personalities, the things that they enjoy, and how do, athletic people, parents have
Yes.
unathletic kids, or non-artsy parents have,
Right.
like, it's just amazing, like, how
Yes.
God designed that. And, I think, like, I have one brother, and
Sure.
he and I are very different. But we have some similarities, but we're just very different. And so then I think about, like, my own kids, and I want to celebrate their strengths, but
Right.
not make the other ones feel inferior if they're not gifted in that
Right.
way. So can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that? Like, how do you navigate that, I guess?
Well, it's hard because sometimes a child just isn't gifted in that certain area. Like our oldest was very gifted with singing and acting and was always on the stage and did very well at that. And then our second, not so much. And it was really hard because, the younger sister wants to be like the older sister. And if you don't have the singing ability, it's just, you can't practice enough to get there.
Right, yeah.
So when my second one would come and say, I'm not as talented as Kelsey, I wish I were like her. I used to always take her, in the Bible where it says you were fearfully and wonderfully made and that God created each of us in our mother's womb. And I just said, Emily, God gave you attributes that he didn't necessarily give Kelsey. And so you're both uniquely made. And so we have to find the attributes that you're really good at and celebrate those. And we in turn need to celebrate your sister and that she can sing and she can act and she's not afraid of a camera kind of thing. And that's really a cool attribute. So it always is a progress, in teaching them to do certain things. So Emily's little niche was actually horses and equestrian world, which Kelsey couldn't stand the horses, so she was afraid of them. So I would just tell her. And Emily also had a really, really, really sweet heart. And I just said, God gave you the sweetest heart. You notice things that, other people don't even slow down long enough to notice.
Yeah.
And even Kelsey would say, I wish I had a sweet heart like Emily. I was like, well, you can work on that a little bit.
Right. Yeah. There's these things called the fruits of the Spirit.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you have a child that's really gifted in sports, not the other one may not be. So
Right.
that is difficult.
Is there a danger as a parent in not celebrating the things that our kids are good at?
I think there is. I think everybody wants to be seen for what they are, gifted at doing and stuff like that, but also just acknowledging that we can't be everything. And I used to tell my kids all the time growing up, like, you can't be everything because then you wouldn't even need a savior, So we all have elements in our lives where we are stronger in, and then we have weaknesses, so we have to lean into the Lord. But I do think we need to celebrate what they are gifted at doing and just teach them, don't be proud about this or whatever. This is a gift that God's given you, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. But how can we celebrate one kid, a great thing that the Lord has given them as in a gift or an opportunity or something they've achieved, an accomplishment, without it being a competition,
Right.
without kind of pitting it against one another that, well, your brother did this and you don't, like
Right.
how can we as parents navigate that?
Well, I just think not saying what you just said, your brother does this and you don't. Like even in
Right.
grades, you know what I'm saying? Because we would have I had some children that were excellent with writing and reading and then not great with math or science and then vice versa. And so it was just, as a parent, we just need to be aware, like don't compare one to another. Only compare them to themselves. Like I would always ask my kids, is this your best? And give me an honest answer because I know
Right.
what the answer is. So don't compare them to each other. Just compare them to themselves. Like, hey, I know you can do better. Not that your brother did better, but you can do better kind of thing. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
How can we be students of our kids? I know it's something you talk about
Sure.
a lot. Tell us what that practically looks like.
Yeah, well, going back to my son Taylor, I just really had to really dig in and learn, what does this melancholy temperament look like? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? A weakness for him was he didn't like large crowds. He wanted smaller. So my tendency would be to throw a big birthday party, do all the bells and whistles, and he didn't like that. So I had to start to be a student of him and realize smaller birthday parties are better for him. Having a few friends over, he never wanted us singing him happy birthday because that was too much attention on him. And he was sort of a socially awkward little boy, and then ended up growing up to now. People are like, I don't believe he's a blue. And I'm like, trust me, he's a blue. You just see him in his strengths, but when he gets to the house, or now he's married, he'll have to go away and just sort of like, decompress, be by himself a little bit, and then come out and he'll be a better person of himself. But being a student of your child is just constantly learning them. Are they an introvert? Are they an extrovert? Do they like small or big crowds? What is their main drive? Are they seeking peace? Are they seeking perfection? Like, what is it? And just watching and noticing and asking God, how did you wire this child? Mm-hmm. Give me wisdom and the courage to parent them in the way they need to go, not the way I want them to go. And sometimes as a parent, that's a hard thing to lay down.